I bet you have somebody in your life that's already checked out before that their career has even begun. It seems like this is a real major problem. I want to talk about that and give you a couple of tips and what I would do as a business professor to think about how do you actually motivate somebody, encourage somebody to get up and get going. The truth is, I'm going to tell you this right now, is that you can't motivate other people. They have to be willing to want to do this thing themselves. And so a huge part of what you have to do as an individual is to tell yourself it's not my problem. But here's the thing that's really difficult that we all have to face is that those other people that you're worried about, they may actually have to have some problems to figure out what to do in their life. And the more challenges that they actually have and the guidance that you actually give them is a good thing. So this is what I would do. This is kind of the challenge that you face, is to actually set some really hard boundaries in terms of what this looks like. But at the same time, it's not necessarily, being harsh and mean, but then as well giving direction in terms of how to get out of this. So I would actually have a very large incentive for those people that you think are aimless, they don't really know where to go. I would do something outrageous, and my wife has done this a few times with grades. She'll give $100. My kids are in elementary school and just becoming in high school, and she's given an outrageous thing where she says, I'll give you $100 if you get a 100% on a test. And that is outrageous and that is insane, but it motivates and it gets people to sort of see something that they possibly couldn't do. So what I would do is say something outrageous. I'll give you $10,000, some astronomical number. Maybe it's $1,000 if you work your way and you get a job and you meet these criteria within the next 6 months or within the next year. Here's the thing, you can't necessarily just say, go do that. That's a little daunting and a little scary. And a lot of times people, when they're in these moments, they kind of get stuck. And so what you need to do is walk people through it and sort of break it down what it means to actually get a job and how you actually might get to that moment where somebody is doing okay with their career. And that is, you set guidelines where, let's say you say, hey, if you apply to 3 jobs and you show evidence of applying for 3 jobs a day or 5 jobs a day, and if you did that for 1 year, you did that every single day, you applied to 4 or 5 jobs a day, and you showed that evidence, I'll give you $10,000. And I would also put a little bit steeper in there where I'd maybe have a couple of books that they would have to read and write and maybe a book report about. So it's interesting when there is these incentives, when you change the mindset, you get people interested in doing something, all of a sudden something changes and people click and they sort of see where they're going to go and what they're about. And they're actually driving the course and driving the car. The key, though, is to have the incentive so astronomically large that people would be willing to actually do it. And so it's going to be proportional to who you are and what your family's about. Some people it might be $100. Other people it might be $10,000. Other people it might be $100,000. But you have to have that direction in order to get people out of this. The last thing that I would encourage you to do, so that's 2 things right now. So the first thing is making sure that you have them actually applying and you have a set number of doing that every day, no matter what. They apply to a set number of different jobs. The other thing that I would get you to do is to also, on top of doing those set numbers of jobs or set number of applications, set number of reading a couple of career books, the other thing is to get out and about, having something where you put in, maybe it is volunteer hours for 10 hours a week, and you show evidence of those volunteer hours where you're getting out and doing something. All of those things combined, if you were to add them all up, it would change a lot. Now, why do you want to do volunteer hours? Or maybe it's even working at a coffee shop. And the reason is you're just doing that to get somebody out and about. Often when people get in this funk, they're just not feeling good about themselves. They don't really see the direction of where they should go. And it doesn't matter what the job is and what they're doing. You just need to have that feeling of, I'm getting up and I'm having fun and I'm doing the right thing at any given moment. This is a good thing for me to be out and about. But you can't see that until you're actually out and about. Now, the other thing that I want to point out, so those are 3 sort of basic things to think about. The massive incentive, 4 things: massive incentive, thinking about actual behavior changes and counting behavior changes that are provable and keeping track of those for a fairly long time, reading, getting information, and lastly, just getting out and about, interacting with the world. The last thing that I would get you to think about and encourage you to think about is perhaps sometimes if none of those things are working, they might actually need to go talk to somebody. They might actually need to talk to somebody that is a professional that can walk them through deep and difficult times in their life. Sometimes you just get into those moments where either you need somebody that is independent or different, or maybe sometimes you even need to get medication. Sometimes those things just work. It gets you out and about. So I'd encourage you to do those 5 things. First thing is having an astronomical incentive, and it has to be predefined, some sort of contractual obligation that's written even just on the back of a napkin, nothing really serious. But there has to be behavior as well. So that's the second thing, behavioral changes that you can keep track of. Looking at the number of applications somebody has applied to per day, but making sure that it's over a very long period of time and that they're actually repeatedly doing that. The other thing is getting knowledge, getting some sort of books involved, maybe 2 or 3 books or books, audio books. There's lots of things like that, YouTube videos that you pick out, all sorts of great things. Then the last thing is getting out and about and getting people to get out and find, maybe it's a volunteer position, maybe it's working at a coffee shop, maybe it's just working for a business for free. Any number of those things work. And then the last thing, if none of that stuff is working and it doesn't feel like it's clicking, I'd encourage you to go talk to somebody about it. Go talk to a professional and get them involved. And that will be very helpful for everybody. So that's how I would actually deal with this situation. And it works. It's hard to do. It's positive as long as you encourage and you treat it as a positive thing. But you got to get out there and you got to get going.